One night in France, it's pouring rain, and a delivery driver picks up a guy walking on the side of the road, and he offers him a ride. So they get to talking, and the guy tells him his name is Alex, and he was kidnapped over 6 years ago, and he's ready to return to the real world. So let's start this story from the beginning, when Alex is 8, and he's from England, and he lives with his mom, and her name's Melanie. And Melanie, she's a little nutty. She's kind of a hippie and a conspiracy theorist, and she lives a chaotic nomad life, where she travels around a lot, and she's involved in some kind of conspiracy cult. Here's the problem with that. She often drags 8-year-old Alex around with her. But luckily for Alex, he has this woman looking out for him, his grandma. And grandma worries about Alex. She's always sending Melanie money to take care of him. And just to make this story even more complicated, there's also grandma's ex-husband, who we'll just call Pops. And Pops is often with Melanie because he's kind of into this whole conspiracy cult stuff too. But one day, it all changes when Melanie and Pops drag 8-year-old Alex to live with them in some kind of commune in Morocco. And Grandma, back in England, she gets super worried. And to make it worse, Alex's mom starts posting pictures on Facebook of their new life in this commune, and Grandma sees the conditions Alex is living in, and they are terrible. Plus, Melanie and Pops don't really believe in formal education, so she knows Alex isn't going to school. But then, one day, Melanie gets a new boyfriend, and she and this boyfriend suddenly take off to go live in Bali, and they just leave Alex there in Morocco to fend for himself. And I have no idea where Pops is at this point. And Grandma, she finds out that they left Alex there, and she's like, oh hell no. And she buys Alex a flight home to England, and she's like, you're living with me now. And she starts to take care of him, and she gets full custody. And Melanie is super pissed about this. She really wants Alex back. But court says Alex stays with Grandma. So Alex is there, living with Grandma, going to school like a normal kid, living life like a normal kid. Until 3 years go by, and Alex is now 11. And one day, Melanie and Pops call and ask if they can take Alex on a little vacation to the beach in Marbella, Spain. And Grandma's like, I don't think this is a good idea. But to be fair, Alex hasn't seen his mom or Grandpa in a while, and he'd like to spend some time with them. Plus, it's the beach. So Grandma's like, fine, you can go. So Alex goes to Spain, and he's having a good time. But then, about halfway through the trip, Grandma suddenly gets a video message. And it's from Melanie and Pops. And it basically says, Alex is with us now, and he is never coming back. Now Alex, he's 11, and I have no idea what he's thinking, but he just sort of goes along with all this. I mean, he's constantly seeing new places because they live like nomads, and he's bouncing back and forth between France and Spain. He doesn't have to go to school, so he gets to read or draw or go to the beach all day. I mean, it sounds like for an 11-year-old, this is a pretty sweet deal. But then years go by, and Grandma, she's still worried sick. She gets the police involved, and now Melanie and Pops are wanted by police, but no one has heard anything from any of them. I mean, they are completely off the grid, and they're living in temporary places, and they kind of just work random gigs for money, and they eventually end up living in a rundown cottage in the foothills of the Pyrenees Mountains, in like a small spiritual community that has very little connection to the outside world. Sounds like a cult to me. And time goes by, and Alex turns 14. And suddenly, the fun is over. Cause his mom and grandpa are like, okay kid, you gotta go out and get a job and help pay for the food and the rent. So 14-year-old Alex has to go out and start working gigs to pay rent. He's working in construction and demolition, and he's painting houses. And at 14, that's gotta suck. And to make it worse, he's super lonely. Like, he doesn't go to school, so he's never with any of his peers. He's always the only kid around. And this goes on for about 3 more years until Alex is 17. And by this time, he's lived in 15 different places in the 6 years since he was taken from his grandma. And then at one point, Melanie comes to him and she's like, now we're moving to Finland. And that is when Alex decides he's had enough. He can't do this anymore. He wants a normal life. So one night, he secretly packs a bag with some clothes and supplies and his skateboard, and then he waits until midnight when he knows his mom is asleep, and he writes her a very nice goodbye note, and then he escapes the spiritual community. And he walks, and he walks, and he walks, and when he's tired, he just like sleeps on the ground, and he has no idea where he's gonna go. He's just walking. And over the course of a couple of days, he walks around 22 miles. But then, it's super late one night, around 3 a.m., and it's pouring rain, and Alex is still walking. And that's when a delivery driver sees him. And the driver feels bad for him, so he offers him a ride. And on that ride, Alex tells the driver his whole story. How he was taken by his mom and how he's been missing for 6 years. The whole thing. And the driver is blown away. So Driver lets Alex borrow his cell phone and use his Facebook account to reach out to Alex's grandma. And after 6 years of being missing, he finally sends a message to his grandmother saying that he wants to come home. So then Driver takes Alex to the police station and drops him off, and there they help him get back to England. And now Alex is back living with his grandma, and he's super happy to be home, and he's going to school like a normal kid, and he's living his life like a normal kid. Meanwhile, Mom and Pops are facing charges for child abduction, but predictably, they are nowhere to be found. So shout out to England, France, Spain, Morocco, and Bali.